Good evening, everyone. I think we're just about ready to begin the meeting. So let's see, Greg, let's make sure that we can hear you. And 1 second, let me make sure.
Oh, okay, he told me to wait till I get the signal.
Okay, we are ready.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Craig Scott. I'm the chair of the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Committee, and I call this meeting to order. For this, I'm going to take roll call. Cornelia is here. Jody's here. And who's that guy next to you? He's here too, our vice chair, Jarrett. And of course, Joel, our members there. And I'm here. So we have a complete board at this time. I'm going to ask for any input from citizens' concerns about Scott Valley agenda. Anybody out there have anything? Not seeing any. I will now turn this meeting over to the general plan meeting. Maria Turner, thank you. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to jump Maria's time here real quickly. I'm Supervisor Michael Green, if you don't know, representing District 4, including those areas included in the Lakeport area plan. This is part of a larger countywide effort. There's going to be several area plan rollouts. This is a hybrid meeting because we did want the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council to be present and to be able to give input. The actual maps of the Lakeport area plan that you'll be seeing obviously incorporate a wider area than just Scotts Valley. So we appreciate your patience. It's a little bit of a hybrid meeting. Our heavy lifting is done, and Chair Scott is here and the rest of the council. And there's only one agenda item on our agenda, and that's to hear this Lakeport area plan kickoff. And here we have Maria Turner, our Community Development Director.
Thank you. I want to welcome everybody tonight. This is a pretty good showing. A number of members from the community for the Lakeport planning area, and I thank you for taking time out of your evening when you'd rather be having dinner. But we appreciate that you're willing to give this time because this community visioning process is essential in guiding our development for the next 20 years. I want to extend thanks to the people who are making this meeting happen. Tonight they're wearing navy. So you'll see over here we have a group of AmeriCorps volunteers. These are women from our community that have become experts now in the past 7 meetings of facilitating our small group tables. And so when we get to that part of our agenda, they will spread out and help us to capture all of the input that you're ready to share with us. I also want to thank Sam Houston for operating the tech for this meeting. The staff that we have here tonight is our principal planner, Michelle Iris, and we also have a couple staff in the back that are also here to help either facilitate or get things if we need them or answer planning questions that typically will come up during the small group session. I also want to thank Supervisor Green and Supervisor-elect Rasmussen for being here tonight. When you're a policymaker, an elected policymaker, it's very valuable to hear people's ideas right here at our very grassroots level. So I thank you for making the time to be here. Also, our principal planner will moderate the Zoom room. So we do have a few people attending virtually. We're really excited that we actually have the internet capacity, the bandwidth, to have both an in-person and a Zoom meeting. I think this might be the first one where it's hopefully going to work. So it's not surprising that most of the challenges that have been described from meeting to meeting include internet access. So this is going to be great. We will handle input and questions and answers, starting with people who are physically in the chambers tonight, and then we'll also then turn to Zoom to make sure we don't miss anybody who's attending virtually. So let's see. Would you please start the slideshow, Sam? All right, next slide, please. We've really learned to roll with things in this series. So let me tell you what the slide's going to be. It'll be let's just sketch out this evening. I'll give you an overview of the Lake County 2050 general plan and local area plan update process. Then we will have a question and answer period if you have any questions about what I would have just told you. We will then get into what I consider the most important part of the evening, and that is our small group sessions. We have about 6 to 8 chairs per table, and the members of the Scotts Valley Advisory Council, if you could just make sure you don't have a quorum at any one particular table, just sort of spread yourselves out. Oh, good point. Yes. Okay, sit wherever you like. Thank you. We will then go over a 45-minute period with facilitators scribbling notes madly to capture everything you're saying. We will then cover 4 different questions that I'm going to get to in just a moment. How's it going, Sam? Okay. Those questions, we do have a slide for it, but you may never see it tonight. So the 4 questions are, what do you consider an asset? What do you cherish about the Lakeport planning area? What are the challenges that you might want to see changed? Where are areas of improvement over the next 20 years? Then we take a look at land use designation. The land use designation dictates how that property can be developed in the future, whether it be residential, commercial, industrial. We will ask for your input on if you see any needed changes in the land use designations that you can anticipate over the next 20 years. Some of those answers could be, I think we need a secondary commercial hub, or we don't have enough industrial, or I want to change all our single-family residential to high-density residential. I don't anticipate that coming in tonight, but I just thought I'd throw it in. And then the last part is we take a look at the boundaries of the Lakeport planning area itself and ask you if you consider that those overall boundaries for the whole Lakeport area still reflect the community today. So just so you know, the Lakeport planning area excludes the city limits because as its own jurisdiction, the city does its own community visioning process. So when we talk about the Lakeport area, it's for North Lakeport, and then it goes to the west of the city all the way to the county line. So it includes things like Benmore Valley, and then it goes to the south part of the city. So it kind of just circles around. Okay, so while they're still working, oh, look at that. What is that? I don't even recognize that slide.
That's number 2. We'll start on 4.
Oh, there it is. Oh, great. Okay, so we've already covered that. Next slide. Awesome. Thank you. So you'll see by that map that the entire county, excluding the cities, is divvied up into 8 planning areas. We are updating the local area plans as well as the general plan simultaneously in the Lake County 2050 project because all of our area plans are pretty outdated and you can't really do a countywide community visioning process without having an updated and relevant community specific or local area plan. So we're doing it all. The updating of these plans qualifies under state law as a project. And anything that qualifies under state law as a project has to go through environmental review. So this will be a very rigorous environmental review resulting in an environmental impact report. And then also, we obtained grant funding to prepare a climate adaptation plan. So we're like, hey, why not? We'll just throw that in there too. So we're doing a climate adaptation plan as well. And the point of that plan is to take a look at climate-related impacts in our communities and offer suggestions, action plans, implementation plans on ways to build more resilience for the communities. Next slide, please. What is a general plan? It is a community-wide visioning document. It must be updated according to state law no more than every 20 years. It's called the Constitution sometimes because it actually talks about development. It provides guidelines. Okie doke. And keep going. So it's a document that, as it dictates development, it's also concerned with protecting resources. So this general plan serves to preserve what we cherish countywide, as well as address challenges that are on a countywide basis for improvement in the future. It gives the government, or it gives the local county government sort of a to-do list on things that we need to work on. It also supports funding for grant applications, because at the state level and the federal level, when all of our grant applications now want to make sure that we're not just making stuff up as we go along and doing something we feel is fun. They want to know that what we're trying to do is consistent with the community's vision. If I missed anything. One really good thing about updating our local area plans and our general plans is because you have to maintain consistency between the two. When we do, in planning, when we work on use permits, things that come before the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors for approval, part of our staff report requires us to show how that project is consistent with both the general plan and the local area plans. And so we never want to have a situation where those two visioning documents are in conflict. So that's one of the really great things, if we survive this 3-year project, that's one of the great things about doing it all at one time, is that we can ensure that the community-specific vision it carries the exact same weight as the countywide elements. So you'll see the components of the general plan. On the left-hand side are all the topics that are required by law. On the right-hand side, you'll see some optional elements or chapters of the general plan, and a jurisdiction has the authority. They have to do all the required topics, but they can, if they determine something to be significant and unique to that jurisdiction, they can also just do optional elements. And so in Lake County, we've added a few. The Aggregate Resources Management Plan, which regulates how we extract natural resources such as gravel from our creeks and our quarries. The agricultural resources, because, you know, it's Lake County. Geothermal resources, which focus on the sort of the southern area of the county where we have a lot of geothermal activity. Public facilities and services, and then water resources, which does focus on Clear Lake. Next slide, please. Local area plans. Okay, so they cover some of the information that is typically in a general plan, but the whole focus of a local area plan is to be community specific. So it'll reflect local characteristics. It will carry the same weight as a general plan. And actually, when we get to the end of this process and they get adopted and submitted to the state, we are submitting the local area plans as actually part of our general plan. So they carry the same weight. It could also include information that the community sees regarding expansion of your community growth boundary. This is an area within your planning area where you anticipate or you'd like to see infrastructure be developed in the future. So this is a lot of our commercial and our residential areas. Go back just a second. Almost done. Okay, another really interesting thing, thank you. that could be in a local area plan would be your community-specific commercial design guidelines or residential design guidelines if you wanted. So those are the regulations that people wanting to develop. Let's say you want to put a new store at a storefront in Lakeport, outside the city limits, and you want to improve the facade or update the facade. The design guidelines will sort of tell you the character that the community wants to preserve regarding the appearance of that area. So you can think about like Middletown, how they've sort of, they really prize the sort of Western kind of rustic, historic sort of feel. That is rolled out through these design guidelines. Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you. Because we wanted to make our local area plans the more robust of the documents, we have separated them a little differently than you'll normally see. And jurisdictions are able to sort of mix and match where their elements go as they see fit. So you'll see on the countywide elements, we have a lot of things that are not necessarily neighborhood specific. Health and safety, noise, geothermal, the agricultural resources, those are all countywide issues. Water resources, the lake. The housing element is countywide, and it starts, part of what it covers is what we call RHNA numbers, and that is the Regional Housing Needs Assessment numbers that have just come out from, they come from Sacramento, and then they go to your local, like either Council of Governments, or in Lake County, it goes to our local APC, our transportation body, and that group then divvies it up, breaks it up into the different jurisdictions. So they'll have a number, they'll have a RHNA number for county and then each city. Now, the RHNA number, the purpose of a RHNA number is to make sure that we are not kicking out opportunities to develop housing. So we have to satisfy that number that it gives us of the ability to have housing. It could still be vacant land. We don't actually have to build the house. We just have to make sure that the conditions are such that it could be developed. And so that goes into the housing element, as well as listing all the obstacles to that development and ways that we can improve through our implementation plans and objectives. So that one is just assuring that we have the options to continue to develop housing as well as maintain current housing so that people in Lake County can have a safe and healthy place to live. And then the aggregate resource management plan. So that's our countywide elements. Then you go over to the local, and land use is a very robust part of a local area plan, but we're also going to talk about how we get around in these communities. That's the circulation element. The open space conservation and recreation, where do we want our parks to go? How do we want to maintain our sidewalks? Our environmental justice, which we'll get to in the next slide. Public facilities and services, economic development, and then at those special study areas, again, in the teeny tiny boxes, it's got the community local policies along with the community design guidelines. Next slide, please. Land use map. Okay. This is what usually gets the most attention because it tells us for the future what sort of development can take place on which parcel. This could include density of residential development. It could include your overall coverage in a commercial parcel. You know, can you just blanket that 1 acre commercial parcel like all solid buildings? Or is there sort of a limitation, like maybe you can only cover 75% of that parcel, that sort of thing? These all affect the county's, how our residents feel about development in a bunch of different ways. After we complete the land use map for the general plan, we're going to roll out a whole updated zoning map update. The zoning map is what we use a lot of in planning, and that will start talking, the zoning guidelines will start further implementing the community's vision, because that's where we're really looking at like height restrictions, your minimum parcel sizes if you wanted to divide something, how many houses can you have on this, that sort of thing. So those are the nuts and bolts part that we deal with every day when people want to come in for a building permit or a use permit. I think that's it on that one. Next slide, please. Environmental justice. What is environmental justice? It is basically the right of everyone to live, work, go to school, play and worship in a clean and healthy environment. The state determined that there are a number of communities of color, tribal communities, low-income communities that historically have been negatively affected, resulting in, but could have been a combination of factors, but the result is that today these types of communities struggle with both a disproportionate burden of pollution and health impacts, as well as disproportionate social and economic disadvantages like poverty or housing instability. So the state labeled these type of communities disadvantaged communities. They have a number of criteria that they evaluate to deem communities disadvantaged, but they also offer a jurisdiction some leeway to do its own identifications as well. And the goal of the environmental justice element then is to improve the overall conditions in those communities. Next slide, please. So how do we do it? Senate Bill 1000 gave us this bullet point list on what is required that we take a look at in an environmental justice. And these can be wide-ranging as well. So the pollution and exposure seems very self-explanatory. It could include anything from industry to cars and truck pollution. Public facilities, that could include something like sidewalks or street lights or larger facilities like flood control. Access to food. This is food that is affordable and healthy. It could look something like increasing zoning for community gardens, or increasing the number of areas that are zoned to attract grocery stores, or offering some sort of incentive to current food stores to help them start stocking, or to encourage them to start stocking healthy food. Safe and sanitary homes. So this will sound familiar when you think about policies that refer to lead-based paint or asbestos, things like that. We want to make sure our homes are healthy places. It could also include pests and rodents, and something that we don't always think of, or that I didn't, was situations like overcrowding. So we know how expensive it is to have housing in Lake County, just like it is everywhere else. And so what you find is, instead of having that single family residence with 2.5 people, you've got that single family residence with like 3 families living in it. And because they're just trying to make it affordable. So when you have a situation like that, like overcrowding, it's very difficult to maintain a healthy environment. And so that could also come into play with our safe and sanitary homes. Physical activity, this could say bike lanes. We want more bike lanes. We want to connect our neighborhoods to our commercial area in a way that's safe for them to get there. We'd like to connect our communities to our local creeks so that people can have parks and creeks and places to go that promote health. As we work on the environmental justice element, it is also actually important to maintain an awareness that as we strive to improve the conditions of these communities, we want to protect against gentrification or displacement of the families who live there now. So the goal of Lake County 2050 is actually to hear the voices of the people that are in these disadvantaged communities, bring them to the table so that we are not making rules for them, telling them what we think is going to be better for them, but rather they are participating also in this community visioning process. Next slide, please. I think I've kind of covered most of this. So the general plan and local area plans, as you dictate or regulate how development is done, it affects our everyday. If we can increase our amount of local commercial that's close enough to residential, people aren't driving 45 minutes to go to work. They could just walk to work. Or the types of jobs that we attract to the county. That could be part of it. Our neighborhoods, more parks, move parks around, change the parks, that sort of thing, so that the character of our neighborhood stays residential and safe. Let's see, what else? Oh, I put in my notes, where can I place a Trader Joe's? So that's my own wish list. But it could be something like that. Where do we want to encourage local or community commercial? Do we want big box stores? Do we want little box stores? Do we want no box stores? That sort of thing. That is part of the community visioning process, though I really wanted Trader Joe's. Good, skip that part. Next slide, please. This just goes a little further. How roadways are designed and improved, that is part of our community visioning process. Again, I've been already mentioning parks. So we also want to make sure that the cultural and natural resources are part of those resources from Lake County that we cherish and we preserve. Next slide, please. Okay. So the environmental impact report. This is an evaluation of how the project, which is this whole new community plan, impacts the environment. It identifies information where there could be significant impacts of these changes on the environment. It might also include mitigation efforts that will bring that significant impact down to a less than significant impact. Also, it has multiple periods for public review. So this document, it's going to look daunting. It would make a great doorstop, but it's really helpful if you just jump in and find the parts of it that interest you, that you may have some comments on, and make sure you send in those comments, because everybody together is how we get actually a community vision. The scoping period, it mentions that first period of public review has already taken place, and that was where the community came in and said, we want to make sure when you're analyzing things that you remember this, this, and this, or this thing over here in that community. So that happened, and it had the 30-day scoping period where we were asking for comments. This draft EIR will also have a minimum 45-day review. So that's a good point where we really need to hear if you think we've missed something, if you think that there's something in there that's inaccurate. How do you get to it? I don't even think that's on the slide. Oh, it is. Next slide, please. Here's our process, Lake County 2050. It's a 3-year process. It started last fall. The countywide elements, which were the ones that weren't in the local area plans, but the column that had the countywide stuff, those drafts are already in process, and we anticipate that they will be available this fall. Each local area plan has 3 different community workshops. This is number 1 for the Lakeport area plan. Our next one, so the goal of tonight is to gather an understanding of what you all think are the key issues for the Lakeport area plan. And we're gonna synthesize that material and bring it back at our meeting in the fall, along with a draft land use map. And that's when we start kind of zooming in further to see if there are any changes specifically that we want to see made. Third meeting is to review and discuss the draft Lakeport area plan, and that is going to be in spring of 2025. Now, once we have drafts of the local area plans, that's when the actual meaty part of doing the environmental analysis can actually get started, because we have sort of our framework of our project. It's going to take a year to do the EIR, and that's actually pretty good compared to some EIRs. So we do anticipate that the work for the EIR will start the spring of 2025 with a draft available in spring of 2026. And then it's going to go from spring of 2026 all the way to fall of 2026 for review. And during that period, it will also go to a public hearing for the Planning Commission, as well as finally, hopefully, our goal is to end up with board consideration and adoption by fall of 2026. Next slide, please. All right. So besides tonight, how can you tell me what you want to see in Lakeport and the county? We're already at the local area plan community workshops. We're going to have 3. Some of the key issues that we find out tonight are going to help inform us on stakeholder meetings. So we don't have those scheduled yet, but when we do discern the key issues, we can then start bringing members with that type of expertise to sort of hash through those issues. General Plan Advisory Committee meetings. The board created the General Plan Advisory Committee. It is a 15-member body of a variety of expertises and residential areas. And they have 5 meetings throughout this process. They've had the first one already, but those are public meetings. Planning Commission meetings and Board of Supervisors meetings, of course, are noticed public hearings. And the way you can keep track and just check in is to go to our website, lakecounty2050.org. You can sign up for the email notification list there. You can also, when you think of a comment that you didn't cover here, but you want to make sure we get captured, there's a comment area where you can click that link, send us your comments. We won't lose it. Additionally, we have a calendar for our future events as well. So you don't even have to remember anything I just told you. Just go to that website when you're interested, and you can see what's coming up. Next slide, please. Good, huh? Oh, geez, I can't believe I forgot that. Local Area Plan Advisory Committees, what we call LAPACs. A few meetings ago, the board established 8 LAPACs, so 1 for each planning area. Please, 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 if you have any interest at all, please apply to be a member of this Local Area Plan Advisory Committee. This is where the meetings for the LAPACs, and we'll keep them as few meetings as possible or as necessary, but just enough meetings to make sure that we have settled and gotten to a consensus regarding community growth boundary adjustments, the planning area adjustments. Do we want design guidelines? And if so, are we gaining consensus on those? So that's where you really have a great say in guiding this visioning process. We are going to, Amanda's doing a Vanna back there. That is our application, the standard board and commission application. Please fill one out, get it back to us, snail mail, email, drop it off with me. That'd be great. We should have a link by now on our Lake County 2050 that'll take you to that application. It's a fillable PDF that you can just apply online, and it goes right to the Board of Supervisors office. We're going to collect applications through the month of May with an anticipated board appointment item in June. So, let's see. I already gave you an overview of the small group decision, so we'll just go on to questions and answers. Are there any questions that you have on that whirlwind tour that I just took you on? Not all at once. Yeah.
When you use the word community, you mean just one of the, like the Lakeport area community that you mentioned, or you mean the community of the county?
Thank you. In tonight's context, community, oh, yes, please, would you? Yes, so the question is, when I'm saying community, do I mean the Lakeport area or do I mean county-wide? In the context for tonight's workshop, when I refer to a community, I mean the Lakeport area planning area, excluding the city jurisdictions. My pleasure, thank you, good question. Anyone else? Okay, so let's go over, any questions in Zoom? Thank you. I know, you're doing good. No hands raised. Thank you, Sam. So our next step then, in just a moment, is we'll ask that you settle yourself at one of these tables, and the facilitators will position themselves, hopefully so that they can hear you well, so like right in the middle of each table, and we will start working through our 4 questions. All right, and I will keep a time. I'll let you know all about maybe 40 minutes. We have 45 minutes, and if you're not done then, you'll know that you can start closing things up. We're going to come back and report out as a group. So one thing, when you're in the small tables, please pick a representative who's going to report back to the large group of what y'all talked about in your small groups. Okay, let's get going. Thank you very much.
And for Zoom participants, you can talk amongst yourselves and report back at the end of the 45 minutes. For our Zoom friends, we have about 7 minutes left of group discussions, and then we'll have report backs, and you'll have an opportunity to speak as well.
Okay, so we're going to be capturing your last bits of input now. About 3 minutes till we bring it back. I hope each table has chosen a spokesperson. And time. Put down your pencils. Look at the front of the class. I feel like a teacher. All right. All right. Good. This is some good input. We filled a lot of pages. This was very good. If there is something that you remember after leaving this meeting that you want to make sure we capture, go to the lakecounty2050.org website and get your comment added right there. We want to make sure that no piece of input was left behind. Oh, thank you. If you could leave those at what was the sign-in table, we want to capture all of your surveys. Please feel free to take one of our snazzy blue license plate holders to help advertise. Exactly. Thank Kurt's doing the Vanna. Very nice. Yeah, to help pass the word on throughout the county. We're going to now do the reporting back portion of the evening. Let's keep it brief. Do your highlights. You don't have to explain every single entry, but definitely cover the stuff that jumped out at you. Maybe 1 to 2 minutes per reporting out, and so that we can make sure we capture it on the video, we'll ask that one person, it's usually our facilitator, will hold the poster for you, and the report out person will let us know what y'all talked about. Let's start with this table. Tammy. Christina, excellent. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. For our assets in the unincorporated communities Lakeport area, we'll just go over them real brief. I feel like Lakeport is the hub of Lake County. It's kind of what people come to Lake County for. We have commerce. Let's see. Larger capacity of commercial housing and growth. If anywhere in the community has potential to grow, I feel that Lakeport is able to hold that. Small farms, we have a clean area, wildlife, music, art, parks, our natural resources. We'll kind of just leave that as a whole. Jimmy's Deli. Jimmy's Deli is definitely an attraction. He'll actually feed you in line if you are waiting for your food.
We have clean air around there too.
Let's not forget that Lake County has some of the cleanest air known. Some of the challenges facing the Lakeport area, affordable housing, entry-level housing, and also workforce and professional and for the professional working force, we need housing for them as well. Another thing that we don't take full advantage of is the emergency housing vouchers that are given to the community. We have to turn people away. So if we could really, if it's something that we need, that is definitely something that we could utilize. We need solutions for generational poverty. Sustainable food that we can produce and keep here in the area, safer roadways, bike lanes, curb, walkability, pedestrian safety. For your colleges, industrial retainable jobs, something that we can give the kids that are in high school, something that the community is going to need. If we can train our young youth and keep them here, I feel like that'll keep, that's good to know. Sorry, I'm getting kind of lost. Workforce development. Biochar, 3D printing, Ram Earth, anything that's kind of climate adapted and new. We are very isolated here in Lake County. If there's not a reason for people to come, they usually just pass through and don't stop. Regional access to transportation, anything that would bring people here, connect us to the outside local transportation is also needed. Childcare, safe and resilient, affordable power, living wages, jobs that actually can pay for people to live and afford to buy property where they live would be good. Goods and services, trade. I don't know. Oh, there is no Trader Joe's. They're not. Just to clarify, they're not saying no to Trader Joe's. That there is no Trader Joe's, no Target, no Home Goods. We need better medical services. It would be nice to see a gym or a pool, a community center that could maybe have all of those in it with a fence and green grass. That would be nice. Lack of dining options, that is another challenge. More farmers markets, local produce, local food processing. We were just told that people that butcher their own animals have to go out of county to actually process their meat. So if that is something that we could utilize here and people from outside communities could actually come and use our facility, yay. And equal rules for cannabis and winery industries. So those are some challenges. The next thing, I'm almost done. Thank you. And then just to sum up our map changes. Okay. The Lakeport International Airport, it's just a little bit outside of our growth boundary. We just thought we might throw it out there. You never know. And then for potential commercial growth or any type of mixed industrial use, I think that the stoplight right there at Highland Springs to the stoplight at Highway 175, if you close your eyes and think, there could possibly be commercial retail there, anywhere between that stoplight and Jack in the Box. So changing the agricultural zoning to something that is like a mixed industrial use. Just throwing it out there. That concludes.
If you want any changes to the boundary map itself.
We're undetermined on that.
Okay. That was, yeah. Thank you. Very good.
And that was that. Okay. So the next group is welcome to approach the mic. Looks like we have Pierre and his assistant, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, assets. A lot of this was already mentioned, but of course, the lake. We need to take more advantage of the lake. That comes up a few times in these different questions. We need to think in 20 years, what do we want our town to look like? We have to keep that small town charm. If we go for short-term gain, what's that going to look like in 15 years? Are we going to go, oh, we shouldn't have done that? So remember, in everything we do, does it check the box to maintain that small town charm? We have diversity, Mount Canocti beauty, Cow Mountain, community caring for disadvantaged, nice water. Don't hear that, but okay. Clean air, no night pollution. We mentioned that. We need to be promoting that more because more and more of your urban areas are wanting to get out of the urban areas. And if we can let people know, come here, you can actually see what you've studied in school with the constellations and all of that. All right, are you trying to get me to move along? Is that what you're doing, Pierre? All right, now we're to challenges. Dilapidated individuals. Oh, sorry, Pierre. I didn't mean the dilapidated. Basically, we need docks but there's all kinds of dilapidated areas sprinkled around, and we need to figure out a way to either encourage them, incentivize them, or impress on them, or develop some pride about those areas so that they fix them up, and because we need better drive up and drive by appeal, going back to tourism again. Medicine, I think that's going to come up a few times. We need more specialized medicine here. If I need endocrinologist, I don't even know what that is, but if I needed one, I guess I'd have to go to San Francisco. Okay. let's see, walkable access to mixed services. What was some other biggie? Hold on. Generational poverty keeps coming up, guys. We got to figure out a way, and the sidelines to that are not enough not enough counselors. But we really need to get people to know what the opportunities are out there. They don't have to stay within their bubble or within their little areas. They can break out, and let's really work on that. Oh, power outages, cell towers. I think that's, everybody knows is a priority, right, Kevin? Safe bike paths, weed abatement. I don't know what that means. You mean you can only smoke in certain areas? Oh, wait, okay. Got it. So more landscaping in our public right-of-ways, maintenance, right. And neighborhood identities, road speeds, okay. Let's go, Pierre. Map changes, planned land use, more mixed use adjacent to city limits. I think we ought to promote these mixed use small farms. Is that on there? No? Okay. More restaurants and hotels. As you know, we have so many bass tournaments here. These guys are staying wherever they can. Sometimes it's out of county. Sometimes they drive in. Whatever. They we need more of those. More rooms. More promotion for tourism to let them know. I think those guys are doing a real good job with the improvement district. But once again, everybody has to wear that public relations hat and talk about the attributes of Lake County. The box stores. On box stores, we're not saying we don't want box stores. What we're saying is we want small box stores, is what we were saying. That's a small box. But the thing is, the only way you're going to get someone like a Trader Joe's is if you improve the demographics of the community. All right. Okay. And then this is boundary changes. We are going to see if we can annex Napa, Adobe Creek, in the field roads, creek used, boundary. I have no clue on this. Here, you want to come up here and talk about it? Because it seems like an engineering thing to me, Boundary, what? I don't know.
Hi, sorry, it was our end of the table and these guys were talking because they were making their dog and pony show up, right? So what we're saying is on the growth boundaries, the Upper Lake side and the Adobe Creek side, why aren't we utilizing field identified roads and creeks for these boundaries versus places where nobody knows where it is, including staff? And it's confusing for all of us. So we're just saying, hey, let's make these boundaries a little more clear by utilizing the existing roads as a boundary line or existing creeks as a boundary line. Thank you.
And then the last, I guess that was the last one. Excellent. Thank you very much. Well done, team. Jody, your table. Who's speaking for y'all? Excellent. Okay. And Max, are you holding up the paper? Great.
You need to practice, Brad.
Very good. This is good input.
Thank you, Maria. So on the first question, what we had identified is regarding what you like most about the Lakeport area. Open space was a big one. We have some good open space. Also, we have a lot of agriculture in this area. We like that. The beauty, the natural area, the lake access. We have good lake access. What would you like to be supported, preserved? Lower density residential, more access to open spaces. Like, for example, we think we have some opportunities to collaborate with the different jurisdictions, whether it may be federal, local, to have more recreational collaboration, like trails and things like that for our area. Tourism, recreation, outdoor activities, including fishing, and the rural flavor kind of this area. And that was covering the first question. Challenges, road improvements, our group identified as being needed. Also, more disaster awareness and education and prevention. Everybody knows we have a lot of disasters here, so there can't ever be enough education. That would also, in that area, and more controlled burning and clearing to make us more fire safe. And also other fire safe improvements such as reflective address signs, and especially in areas that are hard to locate. In addition to the burning, more community fire break systems. BLM used to have that, and they've dropped that, and nothing's been done for years. We have housing challenges at all different levels, low income, moderate, higher level housing. The insurance problem contributes to that. We also need to think about the infrastructure, though. If we do add housing, how does that impact fire response? We have to consider all those things when we're doing that. More parks, recreation, multi-use areas, more youth programs in this area. We don't have enough of those. Map changes, planned land use, expand zoning opportunities. One of the things that was talked about at our table was, like, for example, in some of the agriculture land, to give farmers or those big farm areas more opportunities. Maybe they could have other things like an event venue or a Airbnb or something on those areas to still have opportunities to make more income. Fire station, that we already talked about that. We talked about, with the additional residential, doing that in the existing North Lakeport area, not being cognizant of if we take prime agricultural land, we're never going to get that back. So that's something that needs to be thought about when we're talking about where we're going to do these housing increases, because we do need it, but we also need the ag land to be preserved. And water resource, water conservation, that's going to be a big thing, because to do anything we want to do, we need water. Water, really supports everything we do. And so the mixed-use zoning was something we kind of talked about with the other opportunities. And then lastly, our table's thought on the boundary changes was that we should be moving this line here further north, where at least maybe up to where it bumps out here around the Rodman Slough, because the upper end of Scotts Valley is in the different area right now. And that's it. Thank you.
And our last table. Who's speaking for the last table? You said no?
Times. Nobody listened. No, they did. Well, mine's going to be pretty short because I think most of the other groups covered all the different areas there. I think what really came up in regards to the assets that we want to kind of the rural, the small town charm. I know that came up quite a bit. The small town feel. Protecting our view sheds, which is not just the lake, everything else around it too that we want to. I think the light pollution aspect came up quite a bit. Enhancing recreational activities, mainly through providing better access, sustainable growth and economic development, and then trying to make sure that we preserve our ag lands. So on the challenges, let's see, I'll try and highlight ones that we have not done already. The healthcare desert, food desert, dealing with our natural disasters, increasing bike lanes and walkability, employment opportunities in particular, and lack of Wi-Fi, cell service. So not just broadband, but I think the cell service came up quite a bit for a number of our areas. Light pollution, I know a couple groups already mentioned that, but that came up and we talked about quite a bit as well. And then cost of permit fees and just the building construction in general, the high price. So these are land use mapping changes. This one sat on me for years. I had to. The zoning that on North Lakeport area needs to reflect the topography better. I mean, it looks like somebody just painted, high density residential and paid no attention to where the slope lines actually exist. So kind of giving some more attention up there. Regulate Airbnbs. Not necessarily restrict them, but just regulate them and develop some greater performance standards. Promote food, agriculture, and that was mainly kind of through making sure that outside land uses aren't encroaching into the uses and keeping our prime agricultural lands intact. More youth activities, public pools, and then dealing with absent owners and vacant homes. Land use map changes, I think they've already covered. I think that the Lamson Field Airport deserves to be in the Lakeport area plan as opposed to the Kelseyville one. And then we also talked about taking the map that the Scotts Valley Advisory Committee has worked so incredibly hard on and overlaying that to make sure that it includes all in the Lakeport area. I would agree wholeheartedly. I think Julia said making it match roads rather than these imaginary lines that all intersect very nicely in the middle of the lake.
We forgot the most important thing. If our address says Lakeport,
Yes.
we should be part of it, no matter where. I mean, it's like part of family, it says Lakeport addresses.
So making sure that Lakeport addresses, if you have a Lakeport address, then you should be in the Lakeport area planning area. Yeah.
And that map is going to change each day.
See, Brad? I did 3 or 4 minutes and I never said annexation once.
I know. I'm impressed. You've been practicing, I can tell. Well, the funny part about, you could tell that having the land use follow topography or be responsive or reactive with topography, Kevin was the one who did the last Lakeport area plan zoning map change. So I beg you, if you go home and you have a comment that you think was forgotten, do not do a Kevin. Do not wait for 14 years to bring something up that could really help impact our planning system. So you're going to sleep better tonight, I can tell. Yeah. Okay, so our last table is the people in our Zoom room. So we'll go over, if anybody in the Zoom room wants to contribute, if there are assets, things we want to preserve that maybe didn't get captured. Let's start with assets. Anyone want to join in from Zoom regarding assets? You're going to want to go down to the bottom and where it says raise your hand and click on that. Yeah, this is mostly Lakeport staff. I think somebody's stacking the deck there. Okay, over to, great. Betsy, go right ahead. I think, do you have to ask her to unmute?
She's already has permission
Well
to.
done.
Go ahead, introduce yourself, Betsy.
Thank you. This is Betsy Kahn, a Scotts Valley advocate, and I have to tell you that before you went into these breakout tables, you said that we could talk amongst ourselves. There is no option for that to happen, and we could not hear the discussions at the tables, which is probably okay because it was pretty, a lot of folks talking at the same time. But we have no idea how you discuss these things. I personally felt as though the last 40 minutes was, just me twiddling my thumbs or working on other projects because I couldn't tell what was happening. I'm really grateful to see all these incredible people in the meeting, but I hope that we can find a way to set up a virtual breakout room as some Zoom capacities allow for. And then the other alternative would have been to enable the chat so that we could chat with each other, but that was not enabled. So I feel as though we were given inadequate means of actually participating, although I just greatly appreciate all the discussions and the reports. Thanks.
Thanks, Betsy. Duly noted. We will try to up our game at our future meetings because we do still intend to try to keep them hybrid as where possible. So I do thank you for that input. Did anyone have any input on the assets that we want to retain? So kind of following the questions that were posted during the breakout sessions, did anyone in the Zoom room have anything for number 1, the assets? Give you a minute. Moving on to number 2, our challenges. Number 3, any changes in land use designation. And then lastly, number 4, if you believe that there should be any modifications to the planning area boundaries themselves. Kevin, you didn't tell them what to say? All right, well, thank you so much. Again, Betsy, we're going to totally take that into consideration. I feel like we're getting better and better at each of these meetings. And so we do want to enable and support any way for our public to send us our input, be it either in person or virtually. So again, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight. If you scribbled anything on a map that you want to make sure we retain, don't take it with you. Leave it on the table. We're taking pictures and getting everything submitted and uploaded to our local area plan web things to make sure that we do capture and retain all this information. There are applications around right here for the local area plan advisory committee. Please, 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 if you're even somewhat interested, please apply because we can really use your help. Let me give, oh, yes, there's going to be another announcement shortly. Greg, did you have a question?
I'm just curious, on the website, might there be a summary of what happened there?
Yes. We are working on the summaries after the meetings and we will get them posted, along with the photos of all of these totally great pieces of data that we've gleaned today. Tammy has one short announcement, and then I just want to again thank everybody for taking time out of your evening. Staff, public, electeds, thank you very much. And please take a license plate holder. And on to Tammy.
Good evening, Tammy Alexei, North Coast Opportunities. And do any of you in this room utilize volunteers or volunteer? Okay, so we're going to have a volunteer fair on April 30th. We are looking for people to table. So if you're interested in tabling, see me, and I have a link that you can go to and sign up. But that's your opportunity to put your agency out there and get volunteers. And then if you don't have a volunteer opportunity and you want to go shopping, come on April 30th and do that. Okay? I'll stick around and I'll have flyers. If you're interested, please talk to me.
Thanks again for spending your evening with us. And I want to say you are dismissed, but that's still my teacher thingy going on. So anyway, thank you so much. We're going to collect the materials now. And Greg, did you need to adjourn your meeting? All right. According to the chair, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.